My boyfriend is looking at pictures of half-naked girls right in front of me. I never thought I'd be the kind of woman who'd let jealousy gnaw at her insides, who'd find herself consistently feeling less than enough, especially in a relationship that seemed so perfect from the outside. But here I am, 3 years into a relationship with Marcus, a man nearly a dozen years older than me, wrestling with my own demons while trying to understand his. This journey has been anything but smooth, filled with moments of intense love and deep frustration, especially around his penchant for looking at other women online. It started innocently enough, I suppose. Back when Marcus and I first started dating, he was charming, attentive, and made me feel like the most important person in the world. He'd shower me with affection, cook me dinner, and listen to my endless rants about work and life. But there was always a small, nagging part of me that felt a bit off. It wasn't until I noticed his Twitter feed filled with girls in skimpy outfits that I started to question things more seriously. We'd been dating for about 6 months when I first saw it. I remember the moment vividly. It was a lazy Sunday morning, and Marcus was lying next to me in bed, scrolling through his phone. I glanced over, expecting to see some random news or sports updates. Instead, I was greeted by the sight of a half-naked woman on his screen, her body twisted into an impossibly provocative pose. My stomach churned. "Who's that?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual, though I could feel the undercurrent of anxiety threading through my words. Marcus glanced at me, then back at his phone. "Oh, just someone I follow," he said nonchalantly, as if it was the most normal thing in the world. "Why do you follow her?" I pressed, my heart pounding in my chest. He sighed, locking his phone and placing it face down on the nightstand. "She's just some fitness model. I like her workouts." I wanted to believe him, to brush it off as just a harmless interest in fitness. But as the days turned into weeks, I couldn't help but notice the frequency of these women on his feed, their images searing into my brain, each one a stark reminder of everything I wasn't. They were all so perfect, thin, toned, and confident, flaunting their bodies without a care in the world. Meanwhile, I was stuck with my own insecurities, feeling every bit the opposite of these women. One evening, about a year into our relationship, I decided I couldn't take it anymore. We were sitting on the couch, watching some mindless TV show, when I saw him scrolling through his phone again. Another woman, another skimpy outfit, my stomach twisted into knots. "Marcus, can we talk?" I said, my voice trembling. He looked up, eyebrows raised. "Sure, what's up?" I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "I really don't like that you follow these girls on Twitter. It makes me feel inadequate." He sighed, rubbing the bridge of his nose. "We've talked about this before, haven't we? I don't know why it's such a big deal. They're just pictures." "But it's not just pictures," I said, my voice breaking. "It's the fact that you're looking at these women and liking their photos. It feels like you're comparing me to them." He shook his head. "That's not it at all. I don't compare you to them. You're my girlfriend. I love you." His words were reassuring, but his actions told a different story. Despite promising to stop, he never unfollowed any of them. Instead, he made his account private, a move that only heightened my suspicions. Every time I saw him on his phone, I felt a pang of anxiety, wondering if he was looking at another one of those girls. This became a recurring theme in our relationship. I'd catch him looking at these women, we'd argue, and he'd stonewall me, refusing to engage in any meaningful discussion about it. It was exhausting, and each time it happened, it chipped away at my self-esteem a little more. I knew I had my own insecurities to deal with. My body wasn't perfect by any means. I was curvier than I'd like to be, with stretch marks and cellulite that I tried to hide. I was working on it, going to therapy to address my self-esteem issues, but it was hard, especially when it felt like the man I loved was constantly comparing me to these impossibly perfect women online. It didn't help that Marcus had his own set of problems. He had 2 kids from 2 different women, both of whom he had complicated relationships with. One of them, his ex-wife, he still co-parented with, and their interactions were often fraught with tension. I tried to be understanding, to support him as he navigated these difficult waters, but it was tough. especially when I felt like I was competing with these other women for his attention, both online and offline. There were moments when I thought about ending things. I loved Marcus, but the constant anxiety and self-doubt were taking their toll. I didn't know how much more I could take, but every time I tried to muster the courage to leave, something held me back. Maybe it was the memory of how he used to make me feel, or the hope that things could get better. I wasn't sure. Then, a few months ago, something happened that made me question everything. We were out for dinner, celebrating our anniversary. It was supposed to be a special night, a chance to reconnect and rekindle the spark that had been dimming over the past year. But as we were waiting for our food, Marcus pulled out his phone and started scrolling through Twitter again. I tried to ignore it, but curiosity got the better of me. I leaned over, glancing at his screen. There she was, another half-naked woman, her body on full display for the world to see. I felt a lump form in my throat. "Seriously, Marcus," I said, my voice low and strained. "Tonight of all nights." He looked up, confusion and irritation flashing across his face. "What are you talking about?" "You're looking at those girls again," I said, trying to keep my composure, "on our anniversary." He sighed, setting his phone down. "I can't help what shows up on my feed, it's just the algorithm." "But the algorithm shows you what you interact with," I said, my frustration boiling over. "You have to be engaging with this stuff for it to keep popping up." He shook his head, clearly exasperated. "You need to work on your insecurities, Chloe. This is getting out of hand." His words stung, a sharp reminder of my own shortcomings. I knew I had insecurities, but it felt unfair to put all the blame on me. I wanted to scream, to make him understand how much this was hurting me, but instead, I just sat there, tears welling up in my eyes. We barely spoke for the rest of the evening. The drive home was silent, each mile a reminder of the growing distance between us. When we got back to the apartment, I went straight to bed, pulling the covers over my head to hide the tears that wouldn't stop falling. In the days that followed, I found myself questioning everything. Was I overreacting? Was this really just about my insecurities, or was there something more to it? I didn't know. All I knew was that I felt like I was stuck in a constant cycle of doubt and self-loathing, and I didn't know how to break free. I talked to my therapist about it, trying to make sense of my feelings. She told me that it was important to communicate my needs and boundaries clearly, to make sure Marcus understood how his actions were affecting me, but every time I tried to bring it up, it ended in an argument, with him shutting down and refusing to engage. It was exhausting, and I was starting to feel like I was losing myself in the process. I wanted to be strong, to stand up for myself, but it was hard when I felt so fragile, so uncertain of my own worth. One night, about a week after our disastrous anniversary dinner, I found myself lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. Marcus was asleep next to me, his soft snores filling the room. I felt a pang of envy. He seemed so at ease, so unconcerned with the turmoil swirling inside me. I wished I could feel that way, even just for a moment. I reached for my phone, scrolling through my own Twitter feed. It was filled with pictures of friends, funny memes, and random updates from people I barely knew. Nothing like the images that filled Marcus's feed. I felt a pang of bitterness, wondering why he needed to look at those other women when he had me. I clicked on Marcus's profile, scrolling through his recent likes. My heart sank as I saw more pictures of women in revealing outfits, their bodies on display for all to see. I felt a lump form in my throat, the familiar ache of inadequacy washing over me. I wanted to wake him up, to confront him right then and there. But I knew it would only end in another argument, another round of stonewalling and frustration. I couldn't do it again, not tonight. Instead, I closed my eyes, trying to calm the storm of emotions raging inside me. I thought about the early days of our relationship, when everything felt so perfect, so effortless. I missed those days, the way he used to make me feel like I was the only woman in the world. I wanted to believe that we could get back to that place, that we could find a way to make things work, but I wasn't sure how. As I lay there, I realized that something had to change. I couldn't keep living like this, constantly questioning myself and my worth. I needed to find a way to reclaim my confidence, to feel secure in myself, regardless of what Marcus did or didn't do. It wouldn't be easy, but I knew it was the only way to move forward. The next morning, I woke up with a sense of determination. I decided to take a step back from the relationship, to focus on myself and my own healing. I told Marcus that I needed some space, that I needed time to figure things out. He seemed surprised, but he didn't argue. Maybe he realized that things had reached a breaking point too. It's been a few months now, and I'm still working on myself. I'm going to therapy, focusing on my own well-being, and trying to build up my self-esteem. It's a slow process, but I can feel myself growing stronger, more confident. I'm learning to value myself for who I am, not for how I compare to the women on Marcus's Twitter feed. Marcus and I are still together, but our relationship is different now. I'm not sure what the future holds, but I know that I can't go back to the way things were. I deserve to be with someone who makes me feel valued, who respects my boundaries and understands my needs. Whether that's Marcus or someone else, I don't know. But for now, I'm focusing on me, on finding my own happiness and sense of self-worth. It's a long road, but I'm hopeful. I know I have a lot of work to do, but I'm determined to come out the other side stronger and more confident. No matter what happens with Marcus, I know that I deserve to feel good about myself, to feel secure and valued. And that's something worth fighting for.